Today on Madden 24, we are going to simulate the upcoming 2023 NFL season to see who the game thinks which teams will perform well, which players will win awards, and of course, who will win the Super Bowl. It'll certainly be interesting to see what Madden 24 expects for this upcoming NFL season. I'm really excited to be finally making content here on the new game. We've got plenty of Madden 24 content here on the channel coming soon. Tomorrow I'll be kicking off my expansion franchise. I'm really excited for you guys to see the first episode and what I have in store for that series. But before we get started here, we have a word from today's sponsor, SeatGeek. With football season back in full swing, I'm sure many of you guys, myself included, are going to be looking to get out to some NFL and college games this year, and SeatGeek is the best way to do it. SeatGeek takes the confusion out of buying tickets. You'll notice that all of the available seats are coded on a scale of 1 to 10, with a higher number generally being a better deal, and those are colored in green. You'll also get a look at your view of your seats before you buy your ticket. The best part of all is you'll be able to save some money by using my code Octagonal Gaming, spelled as it is on screen, for $20 off your first order. Thanks again to SeatGeek for sponsoring today's video. Okay, so with that, we will hop into our 2023 NFL season simulation. We're going to take a look at the final standings, see which teams performed well, go through the playoff races, all of the stat leaders and awards, and we'll get a full view of what Madden thinks is going to happen this year. So if I was you, I would bet the complete opposite of what happens today, because we know EA simulation is not exactly the brightest. So with that, we will hop into our franchise. The screens look fairly similar to last year. The fonts seem a little bit different though. And with that, it is time to simulate.
2,000 years later.
So we've made it to the end of the regular season, and the Lions went 5-12. Wow, we are already off to a flying start. As we take a look at the standings, the trend that I noticed is that nobody finished with more than 12 or less than 4 wins. Clearly, there seems to be a lot of parity around the league and not many great or awful teams. As we go through each division, everybody in the AFC North finished above 500, which honestly wouldn't surprise me that much. There are 4 legitimately good teams in this division. The Bengals end up winning it while the Steelers grab a wild card spot and the 10-win Ravens miss out. The Titans win the AFC South. I could honestly see that. I'm pretty high on the Titans this year. The Colts also go 9-8. I can't really see that. The Bills win the East and the Jets make the playoffs. That makes sense. I would think the Dolphins and New England probably would be a little better. And then the Chiefs and Chargers make it in the West. The Broncos and Raiders both over 500 as well. As for the NFC, the Vikings end up winning the North a game over the Packers, while the Lions really disappoint. The NFC South is the division that everybody expects to be awful, yet we have 3 playoff teams. The Panthers, the Bucks, and the Falcons all win 10 games, grabbing a spot, and the Saints, who everybody seems to think is the favorite, don't make it. Dallas and Philadelphia make it out of the East, while the NFC West has no team over 500. The 8-9 49ers end up winning the division and grabbing that 4th seed in the NFC. So with that, the playoff bracket has now been decided, and there are some interesting matchups here. The Chiefs and the Cowboys get the number 1 seeds. The matchups that I'm most excited about, certainly the Bills and the Jets will be fun. The Bengals and Chargers with Burrow and Herbert. And then we've got an NFC Championship rematch as well between the Niners and the Eagles. Let's now take a look at the stats and awards for the season. The thing that I really noticed looking at some of these stats is that Madden simulation seems to be a lot more realistic. I think the passing numbers across the board are more based on realism. There aren't as many guys with 30-plus touchdowns and 4,000-plus yards. It seems like in previous Maddens, like 20 starting quarterbacks would get at least 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. This year, not quite the case. Josh Jacobs ends up winning the rushing title pretty convincingly, with Kenneth Walker finishing in 2nd place. Ezekiel Elliott is on the Cardinals here. Madden's rosters, I guess, haven't updated with him on New England. Justin Jefferson wins the receiving title. I noticed the receiving numbers are more realistic in the sense that a lot of the guys here are the top receivers in the league. I would say Michael Gallup and KJ Osborne are certainly surprises, but other than that, regular names you would expect at the top. And then defensively as well, there aren't as many inflated tackle for loss and sack numbers. The rookie Will Anderson leads in TFLs, while Von Miller and Max Crosby lead the league with 17 sacks apiece. I've seen so many instances where guys break the sack record with ease in previous Maddens, so it's nice that not every great pass rusher is prime Lawrence Taylor. Patrick Peterson leads the league in interceptions with 7. Now let's take a look at the awards. The MVP ends up going to the cover athlete, Josh Allen. Look at Madden, of course, glazing the cover man. There aren't really many major surprises in the top 10 other than probably Desmond Ridder and Brock Purdy. Other than that, all of these seem quite predictable for the most part. As for your Coach of the Year, it ends up going to Zach Taylor of the Bengals. Let's look at the main awards in both conferences as Lamar wins the Offensive Player of the Year. Also, side note, I like that it shows the top 10 players in the award voting without you having to scroll. That's kind of nice. Max Crosby wins DPOY, while Anthony Richardson and Will Anderson win the Rookies of the Years. As for the NFC, Jalen Hurts wins the Offensive Player of the Year. The Defensive Player of the Year ends up going to Aiden Hutchinson. You love to see that, even though the Lions were awful. As for the Rookie of the Years, Bijan Robinson and Devin Witherspoon. Not really many major surprises for the Rookie of the Years. All guys who were drafted in the top 10 of this year's draft. Here's a look at the positional awards for both conferences as well. No major surprises across the board so far in the AFC. The only one that would be a little bit surprising is probably Patrick Peterson winning the best defensive back, but even so, he does still have a little bit left in the tank, and Madden really bases their defensive back awards off of only interceptions, which is stupid, but Madden doesn't really have anything else to base defensive back success off of. Brandon Ayuk winning the best receiver is certainly interesting. I've been pushing the Brandon Ayuk agenda for a while. I love seeing him turn into a really good player with the San Francisco 49ers. And then the rookie, Anders Carlson, wins the best kicker for the Packers. Let's take a look at how the playoffs go, and we will start with the wild card round. We talked about some of the intriguing matchups just a moment ago. I'm curious to see how all of these end up transpiring, and we got some very interesting results here in the first round. So it was all chalk in the AFC with the 4 division winners moving on. In the NFC, though, we had some wild cards win as the 6-seeded Bucks and 7-seed Falcons move on. The Cinderella story for Atlanta would not stop here as they go to the NFC Championship. In typical Dallas fashion, the Cowboys had their annual January choke in the divisional round, while the other 3 teams were all in the conference championships last year, with the Chiefs rematching the Bengals for a 3rd straight year, and the Niners are back in the NFC looking to get back to the big game. Can Atlanta continue their Cinderella run? They do not. The 49ers end up getting the win, and they will face off against the Chiefs in Super Bowl 58 as Patrick Mahomes still owns the Cincinnati Bengals franchise. Before we take a look at the Super Bowl, we will take a quick peek at the Pro Bowl rosters as we look at the quarterbacks. The only major surprise here, I would say, is Desmond Ridder, but with the year that the Falcons had, it makes sense. They made the NFC Championship. He had a great season. There were a few surprising players on offense like DeAndre Swift and Michael Gallup, but for the most part, the players here are sort of to be expected. The offensive linemen as well, a lot of the big names. Ted Karras making it is a little bit of a surprise, as well as Lyle Collins, but other than that, adds up. Will Anderson, the rookie, ends up making it for the AFC after leading the league in tackles for loss. Some of the other surprises include Lorenzo Carter. There's Chidobe Awuzie, my boy, at corner for the Bengals. And then Jahmyr Gibbs makes it as a kick returner, even though he had a really bad year in sim, because if you're no higher than an 85 overall at running back in this game, you are awful. So let's move on to Super Bowl 58 between the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers. This is a very possible Super Bowl in real life, 2 of the best teams in the league. We almost had this Super Bowl last year had the Niners quarterback room maybe not been destroyed in the NFC Championship. I like the new Super Bowl graphics. These look quite clean with the Chiefs and the Niners sort of facing off. Their second Super Bowl against each other in the last 5 years. The Niners, of course, now led by the former Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy, who I guess won the starting job in the preseason here over Trey Lance and Sam Darnold. He's clearly taken it and run with it, despite the fact that the Niners finished under 500. As for the Chiefs, we all know them. They're led by Patrick Mahomes, who's looking for his 3rd ring at the young age of 27. So we're going to simcast this game. If it gets close, we're going to hop in and get our first look at gameplay here in Madden 24. Pretty close game up to this point. It's been back and forth for the most part as the Chiefs take a lead here in the 3rd quarter. We'll see if the Chiefs can score again. They do. The Niners looking to respond. It's a 3-point game with around 4 minutes to go. I happen to be usering the Chiefs, so we're going to hop in and try to win the game here for Kansas City. It's a 3rd and 4. Mahomes up the middle. It's dropped by Kadarius Toney. He had it right in his hands. Normally in this situation, I'd probably punt it, but since this is just a small, fun little video, we're going to go for it. Hand up the middle for Isaiah Pacheco, and he will get the first down, gaining around 5 or 6, which is enough to keep the drive going for Kansas City. Following play, the Chiefs chewing clock. Mahomes connects with his tight end, Travis Kelce, trying to make sure he stays in bounds as he brings it to the 11, wrapped up by Talanoa Hufanga. He's clearly fired up. 3rd and 1 now. The Niners starting to use their timeouts. It's a handoff for Pacheco up the middle, and he does not get it. Wrapped up by Fred Warner. We're going to try to punch it in here on 4th and goal from the 1. Back to Pacheco. He's in for a touchdown. Isaiah Pacheco punches it in for the Kansas City Chiefs with his zesty old celebration, as Kansas City's going to make it a 10-point game, and it looks like they will end up taking this one, as the Kansas City Chiefs do win Super Bowl 58 according to Madden's season predictions. They beat the 49ers 31-21. This is honestly kind of a realistic expectation. I kind of wanted to see Atlanta make it here. I thought that would have been super fun. But this is certainly an outcome that could happen if Brock Purdy continues to progress the way he did last season. Here's a look at the Super Bowl celebration. It's unchanged from last year and the year before that, unsurprisingly. But nonetheless, it is cool to see the Lombardi Trophy come around here for the Kansas City Chiefs, and we'll get a look at Patrick Mahomes hoisting his 3rd Lombardi Trophy at, again, the young age of 27 years old, as he cements his legacy, likely now as a surefire Hall of Famer at this point. What else does he have to prove? He's won 3 Super Bowls. He's been an elite quarterback now for 6 years. His team has hosted the AFC Championship in all 6 seasons as a starter. That statistic will never get old to me. That's so impressive. And overall, with the gameplay, I think it's a little bit different. It feels a little bit more smoother. Obviously, I had only played the game for like 5 minutes so far, but I like the feel up to this point. Patrick Mahomes had a great game here, certainly deserving of Super Bowl MVP, although he was not the only standout for the Chiefs. Isaiah Pacheco and Travis Kelce were both great, along with the rookie receiver, Rashee Rice. The Chiefs had no sacks, no turnovers, but they were still able to win the game. So Kansas City ends up winning it here over San Francisco. I do want to look at the Super Bowl MVP before we wrap things up here, so we'll simulate the week into the offseason, and we'll take a look at the Super Bowl MVP. If you guys want me to do like an offseason walkthrough or something like that pretty early into the Madden cycle, feel free to let me know, and feel free to give me other video ideas as well. Patrick Mahomes does end up winning the Super Bowl MVP, and I honestly feel like all of these awards make a lot of sense. Josh Allen winning the MVP, the Offensive and Defensive Player of the Years, the Rookie of the Years, those are all stuff that very well could happen this year. There wasn't really anything that was super out of the ordinary in terms of the major awards and really everything major that happened. So, in other words, you can expect the NFL season to be flipped on its head because, as we know, Madden doesn't really know ball. That'll wrap up the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Certainly a fun one to make. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new for more Madden 24 content. Peace out.